Now let us ask this question. Does Deuteronomy 17, 16, and 17, does that apply to all Christians? To everybody across the board? Or does it apply to just kings? If it does apply to all Christians, what does that mean for us and in our sinful state? So now I am going to start reading it, starting in verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. Forasmuch as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself gold and silver. Now, one thing we have to consider, that if one of these three things applies to all people and not just kings, then all of them do. So what would that mean if that applied to everybody? That would mean no more bank accounts. You can't multiply gold or silver or money unto yourself. You can't keep money. I mean, in today's language, you'd get $1 to live off of. To pay all your bills and everything, $1. So, that's not truthfully. That would mean that everybody throughout history pretty much broke this, including Jesus Christ. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had, Judas Iscariot wouldn't have been around, to keep track of their finances. And that was his job as one of the 12 disciples. He kept the money. But if they were only allowed $1 or one gold coin or whatever, one piece of gold, he wouldn't need that. And that would be a sin for them to have that, according to this, if it applies to all people. All right, horses. Okay, apply that to all people. That means, first of all, a king can only have one horse. That would be one horse for his military, for his private use and all that, bringing stuff, transporting materials and stuff. He could only have one horse, and that horse would have to do all that. Now, let's put it in today's words. One vehicle. You can only have one vehicle. Do all your needs. Not just you, but the government could only have one vehicle. That means no more ships, because that would be a vehicle. The military could only have one vehicle with them. The government what government can run off of one vehicle? No tanks, no nothing like that. No cars, no trucks. They'd have to have one vehicle that does it all for the entire nation. And then we got to think about the farmers. Now they have their personal vehicles, their work vehicles, their tractors, their harvesters, their planters, and all that's a different vehicle. Some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece. So you're going to tell me that they can only have one vehicle to do all that? All that because most people will say that this is for everybody, and that these only means you can have one. You say, but that's not what that means. I agree with you. But if you say that's not what that means, then you also have to say that this part is as equal as all of them, where it says, neither shall he multiply wives to himself. So if you use these verses to say that, he can have, if he has more than one wife, then he's breaking this. Then you also have to say that if he's got more than $1, the king is breaking this. If he's got more than one horse or vehicle, he's breaking this. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Doesn't, much less if you go and say that that all these three things applies to everybody. Then that means you would also have to go through the scripture and say, all these different things where he was talking to a specific person or a specific group of person, that he was talking to everybody. When he was telling the high priest that they can only marry virgins, you would have to say that applies to everybody as well. Or when Jesus was talking to the young rich ruler and telling him that he has to sell everything he owns and give to the poor in order to follow after Christ, that would have to apply to everybody. Because because you can't separate them out. Either these verses and stuff only applies specifically to the group of people that it references, or all verses like that apply to all people. Which would mean that the verse where it talks about the high priest not being able to marry anybody other than a virgin, that means we can only marry virgins, which means we can't marry widows. So, which would make a big, huge contradiction. Now, the same way as any of them like this would. Are you really going to tell me that there's actually, if you stop and think about it, there's actually only one king in Scripture that would have came close also to violating this. And he was never accused of violating these. And that was Solomon, who is one of the richest men ever, if not the richest man to ever live. That he was never, God never told him, God never condemned him for violating things that he shall not multiply silver and gold. God never condemned him for having too many horses, for having too many riches. God never condemned him for having too many wives. What God did condemn him over was having foreign wives. It's not the amount that he had, but for having foreign wives. And that these foreign wives led him astray from God. And I thank you for listening to me today. If you don't mind, there's little buttons on the bottom. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.